Garnet, Montana is a lonely place 6,000 feet up in the Garnet Range. It was once an important gold mining center. In the early 1900s, the town boomed. Its 4 hotels were full. There were stores and barber shops, a post office, and a school. Now it sits empty, an historical landmark watched over by the Bureau of Land Management and visited by tourists every year. A true Western ghost town. The Bureau of Land Management first decided to have someone stay year-round in the winter of 72 to 73. The problem was that someone was burning down the old buildings in the town.
This may or may not have been vandalism. By panning the ashes of the right building, one could have acquired a significant amount of gold that had fallen through the floorboards of the buildings many years ago.
Winter in the Garnet area is usually severe. At one time in the old mining town, they were so snowed in, men had to travel 9 miles through the mining tunnels to the nearby town of Beartown to get supplies.
Mike Gordon, the man BLM chose to stay in Garnet, found that winters, at least, hadn't changed much at all since the 1800s. The Bureau of Land Management had given Mike a snowmobile to use, but snowmobiles back then weren't what they were today. And without the trails being packed, it was impossible for Mike to use it.
The snowmobile just couldn't get up and down the steep road known as the China Grade. When Mike traveled around, he used snowshoes or skis and a toboggan to pull his supplies. The snow was piled up as high as a roof behind the cabin Mike was staying in. Mike would often have to cut stairs in the snow to get to the higher portion of the hill behind his cabin. It was January or February. Mike was looking forward to the end of his snowbound isolation. His days were a constant Jack London-style fight for life, and that the main activity was the need to constantly feed the wood stove. He was writing a letter between sticking logs in the stove when he thought he heard a faint music playing somewhere in the town. At first he thought he was just imagining it, but the more he listened, the more it sounded like honky-tonk music. After listening for some time, he decided to go out and investigate. He walked outside and down the main street of Garnet. A few doors down was the old Kelly Saloon. It was a 2-story building which housed the saloon downstairs and the family living quarters upstairs. The lower floor, the floor where the bar had been, was boarded up. It was from inside this saloon that the music, still faint, could be heard. It was cold. Wind blew bits of snow off the drifts. There were no tracks on the main street leading to the Kelly Saloon or on the hillsides. No one else had been walking around in the town. Mike felt he had to investigate. He went up the hill around the back of the Kelly Saloon. Here he knew he could get in. A plank ran from the hill to a door on the 2nd story. Again, there were no tracks in the snow, but the sound of honky-tonk music persisted. Mike stepped out onto the plank. The sun was shining in the sky, but Mike felt the loneliness and desolation of the ghost town. He decided that maybe it wasn't such a good idea to go in after all. He went back to his cabin. After a while, though, his curiosity got the better of him. He went back to the Kelly Saloon. The music was still playing. He walked across the plank and threw open the door. He was in the living area of the saloon, but all he found were pack-rat-destroyed mattresses. Straight down the corridor was a stairway that led down to the bar. The music was still faintly playing. It was coming from downstairs. He walked down the hall and down the stairs. The music stopped. The bar was empty and completely still. Mike has since wondered if he imagined the whole thing.